Yeah, I mean, yeah, you said we've seen it before. And to the Skyrath point, yeah, I think a lot of teams are getting hung up on that. They think, oh, this isn't a mobile hero, this isn't a hero stun, but you have a slow, you have a silence, and you have Mystic Flare that just deletes opposing heroes. So, I don't know. Sometimes maybe you get caught up on one aspect of a hero being lacking and you overlook maybe some of the benefits. Speaking of overlooking here, though, Infamous have picked up the Medusa and they have not banned an anti-mage, which, as the DP comes out on the other side, I think that might be a little bit of a carryover from Infamous themselves. They ran Parker on that AM in that previous series against Wildcard, and it didn't really work out for them. So maybe from their own personal experience, they're now discounting that AM a little bit more, but just because that game went poorly for them doesn't mean that AM isn't still a hero that can cause massive problems for that Dusa.
Yeah, and there certainly are some holes that have emerged here. There's no anti-mage. There's no Pugna being valued at all. We get to see the Death Prophet for the first time, and I think that is large in part because Infinity were actually one of the few teams still banning out that Death Prophet, which is extremely interesting to me. And that's where, well, I do like Infamous actually going for the Weaver here. That's a little bit of anti-armor. That's your natural spirit vessel carrier. If it wasn't the Weaver, I could see them going for a hero like the Mirana. You're certainly leaning back a little bit from the burst damage, but another hero that can get on top of that Shadow Demon, figuring out where he is going to be so important, and actually taking out Prada early is going to be, I think, paramount. But that's also where this DP got a few question marks here. Is this going to be the same Death Prophet that we all know, we all hate? It's the second most picked slash banned hero in the tournament. Of course, that was because a lot of those games were played before 731C, but I think that's where this could be a little bit of a proving ground for Infinity here. And if it's the 5 position, well, everything still stands for that hero, aside from that Exorcism still being 100% worse. But we'll see if maybe Z Freak was correct about that hero just being terrible, because everybody else hates it. But PL versus Medusa, I mean, you can't ask for a better matchup than that.
So, well, they get away with not banning the anti mage on the Infamous side, but you're still dealing with something that is not going to be fun. So, see how quickly Lumiere builds up on the PL. One of honestly his sort of stronger heroes as well. Obviously, he doesn't get to pick it up as much as some of his other signature carries, but we know what to expect. Infinity knows what to expect from that sort of player hero match.
No, I definitely agree. And this is a less active hero than, sometimes we get to see Lumiere on. I feel like his Monkey King also would have been a pretty sick option in this game, but, can't have Lumiere Monkey King every single game, even though it is a treat to watch just somebody as good as he is on that hero just kind of make his presence known. But hey, that's where the PL certainly give up a little bit of agency. It's certainly your hero that you're comfortable going in late versus Medusa, but at the same time, you are playing versus a late game Medusa. It's where the other aspects of your draft, it really removes, I think, both carries from this game. Unfortunately, though, it is going to be that game of cat and mouse that we always see play out with the Medusa, where Infamous cannot let you go. It's where I think if they can get these heroes in the arena, if they can keep that Stone Gaze on top of it, Mars Medusa is one of those cool combos where the Spirit does make you face the Medusa, so anything that lands, you could actually see these heroes getting chained down. But that's where the PL will most likely escape in all of those situations. It's really going to be where Infamous are just going to try to kill you, snowball those kills, get ahead of that PL. If the Medusa does start falling behind, that's the nightmare situation.
Now, you see that final ban from Infamous, they remove the Monkey King. This is something we got to talk about with Mariano one of the last times we talked to him pretty frequently at these events, but in one of those interviews, he mentioned the ability with both Lumiere and PP to have some overlapping hero pools, because Infinity have already taken their carry. The Phantom Lancer is going into Lumiere's hands. There's really no way you can change that, and Infamous still have to ban out the MK because PP could just take it mid and be just as effective. So really makes it a nightmare for teams to draft against this squad, as Infamous grab the Pangolier for themselves, and Infinity will respond with that Kunkka pick. So we are going to see the DP at the 5.
Yeah, and really, it's a funny drafting style from Infinity because you look at their draft, you look at the heroes and the orders that they actually took their heroes up here, and you say to yourself, well, okay, they picked Shadow Demon. they're also going to pick Death Prophet. Okay, now we've got the counter on our side. Oh, we're going to pick Timbersaw, wait a few phases. Oh, we can play Kunkka because our opponents cannot. They really just have a kind of nice, nifty draft here where they've got the same hard counters as they are kind of cohesively playing with their opponents here. I don't know. I kind of like what they've put down here. Not to mention, okay, you are playing Pango versus Kunkka in the mid lane. Feel like that should favor PP a little bit more here. But that is another active hero for Alone to play, and I think having that Pango versus heroes, of course, like that Timbersaw, you get the Diffusal Blade, you start putting that Timbersaw on a timer, and there is one fact about these Timbersaws, regardless of success, regardless of what they've been actually able to do, you take the mana out of him, the engine stops. You stop playing the game. I think that's where Alone he can certainly play around that fact, and for the first time in I think a while here, we see a hero like that without the Pugna, without the Kata, without any way to really get him back in his swords. He'll have to do that by himself. Of course, okay, maybe you've got the XTP back. Maybe that's your soft answer. But aside from that, I think really channeling down and focusing down Mariana's mana pool is going to be a huge part of this game.
Yeah, because that Timbersaw, I mean, he's dangerous. He is mobile. He is terrifying, but he's not exactly a battery with his mana pool. So, like you said, if Alone does opt for that Diffusal Blade buildup, then Mariano could find himself just kind of standing there with not enough mana to really do anything. Then the pressure just gets entirely shifted to these other cores. So it'll be nice to see Infamous if they can exploit that. Would not be too difficult for them considering the Pango mid uh, doesn't really have to go out of his way to build that diffuser. So we'll see if that's a call or not from Alone and just how effective he can be.
Yeah, want to see it, want to see a lot. And I think in very typical fashion, whenever Infamous do play these doubleheader days, if they get worked in a series, they are ready to do the working. They're ready to really start running at their opponents here. And of course, some little interplay here, as I do believe look over at Lumiere. Does he still have the tag? No, he got it removed. But so many of these players have played with each other in various iterations. I remember, again, the one that always comes to mind is Mariano just playing on every single team in SA. They've all been on the same side of the coin. They've all been in these different forms of very similar teams. But I think that's where, there's really no bad guy here. They're just playing some Dota.
And I'm glad he got that tag changed in time because I think earlier in this event, Lumiere was playing with his old Infamous tag, and I would be guaranteed to mess that up at least once or twice, considering this match. So, Lumiere, thank you for sparing me from that, and uh, Michael, okay, gets sort of tapped on the backside a couple of times there for free, but should be able to get himself away. Just doing a little bit of scouting. The only problem was that your Weaver wasn't able to put much vision in here. They used their ward all the way down in that bottom lane itself. So that could give the Weaver chances to snipe out some couriers, though. That is kind of the quintessential position for a Weaver play.
Yeah, and a little bit of action. Not the most exciting thing in the world. Does he get the rune? Nope. Lumiere's got faster fingers.
Two bounty runes to... Actually, it's going to be three to Infamous here. So, all right. Nice little advantage for them to start off this laning stage. Not massive. It never is with the bounties, but certainly gives us something to talk about. But now, see how these lanes play out. We'll see how effective Prada is going to be able to be here at pushing these heroes back. That's going to be sort of the big one here. Because if Oscar can just get in his opponent's face or using that rebuke to make Lumiere's day a little bit rougher, then your PL's still going to find his farm. It's just not going to be as clean of a progression.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what he's actually able to do, but at the same time, there really is no wrong way to, I think, go with that hero as a courier actually dying below up top.
Okay. Thought it was going to be the Weaver who was going to be sort of more proactive on that front, but A is... It wasn't even really hunting for it. He wasn't massively behind enemy lines, just Courier kind of gets called up and no one was really paying attention to it, so the Bane says, cool, free money, thanks.
Yeah, and that's where I think, well, in terms of the lineup, we already saw last game what happens when a Shadow Demon is kind of shoved to the side here. And that's something with Infinity's support too that they certainly have to be careful of alongside the Timbersaw. A lot of these plays kind of start and begin with that Kunkka, and up till then, they just need to do a hell of a job in these lanes, just kind of keep ahead. And, well, if there is a Medusa in the game, there is this ebb and flow in the waves that we always talk about. You push the wave out with the Mystic Snake, it goes underneath the offlaner's tower, it pushes back into you. Everybody gets XP.
A is he's gonna take a little bit of punishment here. Took a weird angle to get back in underneath the tower, but Mariano with no timber chain. This is always, I think, the fun thing about the timber saws, right? There's so many ways. Why are we tipping PvP? What went down there? Not entirely sure what that was about, but there's so many ways that the timber saw can just sort of skill himself up, and you know, you trade off durability for more damage, you trade off damage for a lack of mobility. I mean, it's always interesting to see. But right now, Mariano knows that even if he has this timber chain to sort of go flying around, the Medusa is not going to care about that damage unless it's significant and he can make it stick. So in that regard, the Whirling Death is going to be maybe a little bit more useful.
Yeah, it's honestly just instant, right? Easy to get the range creep.
Yeah. Time supports are duking it out here, and Genic is probably gonna lose this fight. Let's see what he can do. He doesn't have enough mana to go for the disruption, so A can honestly just walk him to death. Fairy Fire comes in, though, and can he get any sort of final hit? He is looking for it. Trees are gonna break that vision, though, and okay. I mean, it's still not fun for the Shadow Demon, and he may have to use this salve on himself, but at least he doesn't give up the first blood.
Yeah, and he's not actually salvin. He's just kind of chilling by the tower. And of course, with this timber saw, as we also always talk about, and that is why
Wow.
giving the salve over to Mariano, selfless guy, selfless player, doesn't even have anything coming out on the courier just yet. He really doesn't want to spend his gold. Might just decide to steal the bounty rune and then TP home. And all of this is just space to Mariano, get him his level 6. Very nice guy in Gimmick.
Steals the bounty, makes his way out. A is not fast enough without his boots to catch up here, so... Actually, I say that. Hold on. Is faster, and okay. Genic's just going to turn around, hit him up with the disruption, and go about his own business, as Alone's coming over as well, so it really is time for the Shadow Demon to leave. We're one swashbuckle away from maybe getting into trouble. So, Genic's going to take a long trip back to the base. PP, meanwhile, is also in a little bit of a bind, but the solution's right there. X's himself, TP's home. I thought for a moment maybe he could get away with waiting for the Shadow Demon to TP in and refill that bottle for him, but TP will simply do it himself, and this is a much faster turnaround for him.
Yeah, it's where this Pango hero is very annoying. Very, very annoying. Just so efficient, so much damage coming in from really all avenues here. Haven't seen what Alone's going to queue up or go for just yet. You can assume with the Blightstone, he's just going to finish off that Orb of Corrosion, so it might not be the absolute rush that we've seen some Pangos go for into that Diffusal Blade, but it's certainly something to play around. It's where both these mid laners are really going to get active pretty soon here. They're both so close towards that level 6, and Alone might be even just baiting a little bit, but needs one more creep, then he's going to be level 6. Unless PP's on the low ground, there's no real solo kill potential here.
He's trying to trade what damage they can as... X into Torrent. Gonna connect. Alone doesn't really care too much about that. Meanwhile, the supports trying to be disruptive. Once again, these camps were getting stacked up, and... Well... I mean, he kind of stops it. He drops down a ward, so at least they'll know if it's happening again, but... You gotta wonder if you're Infamous, are you gonna be in a position to try and maybe get over there and contest that anytime soon? Because it's what, 2-3 stack on the Ancients, couple stacked camps there as well. So it's a nice little bit of early money, and it may not be a massive difference maker for the Infamous side, but it's certainly gonna be more valuable if you're taking it away from Infinity.
Yeah, no, it's going to be absolutely massive, and Genic is still doing his job, though. At the end of the day, it is very hard to shut him down here, but this is a huge amount of resources for both the Kunkka and the Timbersaw, depending on who actually ends up taking it. But PP, with Michael, oh no.
And he's got to use the
super
boat.
dead. Needs to run not into any other heroes, though, and okay. He avoids A, which was super important there, but Genic was so low during that entire time, and that's first blood. Really slow laning stage, but still, Alone's going to be super happy to take that.
Yeah, 6 minutes in before we get that first kill, but it does go the Pangalier's way, and if you're Genic, Well done, I suppose. You step in there, you make sure PP is not going to be the one who gets caught. Because if the Kunkka is the one who dies there, you're feeling pretty down about that. As A, put by the poison there, so they still know he's in the area, but close that gap in time. So these stacked camps will continue to be a sort of resource in limbo. Your Timbersaw is hitting level 6 just now, so wants to push over with the Chakram. Maybe they could make that happen. Otherwise, PP's got a maxed out Tidebringer. They could just sort of lead him to it, and I think that's exactly what the plan is.
Yep, just got level 7, gets the D award. Gonna be the large camp first, but people could honestly keep this going, and then he's gonna be huge on Kunkka. And Infamous, they can't really contest the Ancient stack, but if they knew about this, then you could see maybe Alone walking over. The Pango's, I think, the only hero that can really contest in that same capacity, but without knowing what's going on, they very cleanly give the lane over to Prada, and Genik is still hesitant about stealing XP here, but I think at this point, kind of deserves it.
He was able to set that up and defend it for a pretty nice amount of time while the Bane was sort of poking his nose around. So it's a little bit of XP for himself. PP will retake the middle lane, and now where does Prada go? He's looking for now like he's going to make his way top, but can actually go for the stack again. Did he get this in time? Looks like he did a pretty good job of it. Oh, okay, never mind. I spoke too soon. He was 1 second off on the timing, so not going to get that stack again, but it's stacked up enough where it's pretty damn valuable already, and PP, well, he could go for the stack. He also has his ghost ship back up, so we could see a rotation, especially if both the supports are heading up top as well. Would be a nice time to strike. The problem is, Infamous recognized that as well. They TP Parker out of there immediately.
And then immediately back onto the bottom or into the mid lane. If you're Infamous with this creep pressure, it's not the worst situation, but it's a little bit scary right now, especially because if you do get caught, especially if you're that Weaver, Michael needs that XP. He's not close to level 6 in the slightest. Probably going to take the tome for it, but then he can certainly take this dead lane here. But look at all the rotations. Okay.
Alone has his Rolling Thunder here, so this is going to be a hard kill for them to get, but, well, they tried for it anyway. Ghost Ship doesn't actually connect onto Alone, so he should be just fine to TP out. Meanwhile, A pops the Nightmare onto PP, TP's away. They're going to tip the Kunkka repeatedly, and everybody gets out of there. Bit of a strange one for Infamous being that deep, basically around the tier 2 towers. Mariano is able to find a kill up top onto Michael. 1v1 situation against the Weaver, and Michael was unable to maintain his distance there, so Mariano gets the first kill on the board for the Infinity side, and he is going to continue dishing out damage onto this tier 1 top.
Yeah, it just kind of works out, and I think enabling and giving this Timbersaw the easiest game possible, it's going to be the easy path forward for Infinity. And Mariano can certainly do a lot of damage onto these heroes, but he actually has a pretty interesting build-up going for the Vanguard. Haven't seen all too many Timbersaws actually go for it, at least not today, just because it is kind of slow. It's kind of expensive item that doesn't really build into all too many things either. It's where, the Arcane Boots Rush is usually the better choice into keeping that Ring of Health for the Hood, but, saying I've been taking a lot of creeps, I've been getting right-clicked by a Medusa, might as well, right?
And it does help to alleviate that sort of one major weak time for the Timbersaw, as we repeatedly sort of say in these games, when he's sort of in between lanes, in between pushes, and the reactive armor stacks are down. Now you got a Vanguard to block a little bit of that damage as well while you get those stacks back up. So it's not a perfect solution, and it's a still sort of expensive one, but is still going to be useful. And if Mariano had enough farm to go for it, then yeah, more power to him, I suppose. We'll see how it all plays out, because now is around the time when maybe you would like for that Timbersaw to be shifting to other lanes. He's already helped take the tier 1 top, so he's made his way bottom for now, but really a coordinated effort to push this lane out just yet.
Yep, I think it's more so just trying to shut each other out in terms of the offlaners here. Oscar's got a very fast blink timing right now if he keeps on this current trajectory. At the same time, well, you're only level 5 on Michael in the top lane. PP didn't even have to use the boat, so that's kind of just a free kill.
Kunkka's first of the game as well, so starting to get himself going a little bit more as Prada momentarily on the wrong side of the river there, but realizes how far he is and go for the quick TP home. And now You do have your Exorcism, of course, with 7.31C. It's not quite as effective pushing towers, but it's still going to potentially play a factor in taking some fights and maybe at least pushing out the creep waves, even if the damage against the tower itself is going to be mitigated. So Rada's in a nice spot there. Thought Mariano was going to get more aggressive than that, but he was just coming over to grab his boots, and it's looking pretty good. Vanguard Soul Ring Arcane boots at 12 minutes, so very nice start for the Timber. And now what's going on here? Michael going to get caught, still not level 6, so does not have that ult to work with, but he's got teammates nearby, and Infinity have to show some respect to that firepower.
Yeah, well, okay. Not the most expensive Rolling Thunder, as they did have that arcane rune going, but a little bit odd, maybe you could say. But this is just going to be a farming game for a very long time here. I've just been watching Parker exist in this triangle for so long. He's farmed so many stacks. He's got a 12-minute Mansa. I mean, Parker really hasn't skipped a beat, but your mid tower might be too much of an ask here, especially with 25 seconds on that Rolling Thunder. I think it's the only reason Infinity make this move. And Sleep trying to mess up PP's go, but at the same time, there's a lot of damage, not the most damage, because that Exorcism does do a lot less to those buildings, but at the same time, they're just kind of brute forcing their way into a team fight that Infamous really aren't able to take. It's for Oscar. He'd love that jump, but
Okay.
is this enough?
They got the arena, they get the spear stun. Mariano should fall. It's going to take him a little bit of time, but they do get it, so Mariano dies. That kill's split between basically everyone who was there, but they find the kill, and their tier 1 tower is safe for the time being. So that was a bit of a tense one, but this is what you can get with Oscar on the Mars, and he has the Blink Dagger up now. He's going to look to continue making plays. Obviously, the arena being down is going to mitigate his opportunities a little bit, but can still be very much a tempo setter for Infamous as they continue to make the space for Parker.
Yeah, and it is quite funny in so many fashions in these games. One team is the aggressor. They try to get the tier 1. They get hit by a rebuttal. Then they're actually the team that loses the team fight into the tier 1. But Parker, without Stone Gaze, oh boy.
X, Torrent, they're going to get through the entirety of that mana shield as Prada just has him with the siphons. Parker, though, is really making him work, and he's still holding a 17-stack wand, so this play's busted. This is just completely broken. They're not going to be able to find anything. Genic may go down as well if he's not careful, because Lone is thinking about trying to push it onto him, but once Mariano arrives, he will back off. Prada, however, kind of kept chasing Parker, and you're a support Death Prophet there. You don't really have the means to continue that chase, so Parker got in trouble, but he's going to be just fine. They find a kill in return for Infamous. Your Medusa just goes right back to farming, and Infamous hold the line.
Yeah, really, Parker's none the wiser, and I think that comes from a few aspects there. Mariano not being able to join up with his team, not saving the Mnemonic Purge for after the boat combo already landed, because PP pretty much had him locked down there, so they don't get to keep those stacks. And specifically, Genic being such low level, it's going to be a maxed out Shadow Poison, but no Soul Catcher. I think that's just really a harder kill than they were really expecting. And again, not to mention, Parker is also just so ridiculously farmed there. Maybe if he doesn't have the Mansa, it's a lot closer, but with how fast he is towards these items, it's a very scary Medusa game. He's really outpacing everyone, and even though his teammates are smoking up, looking for this fight in the mid lane, they don't want to find PL, but gotta be so careful here.
They get the X, they'll get the Torrent, they'll throw the Chakram in here as well. Michael, he has his ult, but he would rather not use it because that would just sort of pull him back into the fight. So just walk away, and maybe you don't get much, but look at PP. He's trying to wait. Nobody's going to take that bait, though. No one's going to get close enough to the wave. So Infamous dodge another one, honestly. I mean, they are really still getting into these scenarios. They're just not really losing anyone when they do.
Yeah, and, well, I do want to see Infinity going for some more of these plays. PP just got his BKB finished. Doesn't need to be afraid of that Pangolier at all, as Lone not actually going for the Diffuse Rush. Instead picks up the Maelstrom, of course, to deal with the Phantom Lancer, which kind of just makes sense. It's a lot of damage bouncing between the illusions, but now he's probably going to look for the Axe Shard and the Blink Dagger. It's really a team fight that you wonder if Infamous are just going to wash their opponents here. Infinity really need to survive that initial engagement and then kind of look for the next fight. It's where we haven't seen them really get onto a tower in just a little bit here. There's no real reason for Infamous to look at you anyway right now unless they want the actual engagement. A, however, has unfortunately been caught in the trees. No TP, nothing to really do here except for die.
And it kind of stole that one away from Lumiere. That's a little unfortunate. Getting the PL a little bit more farm would have been ideal, but they're going to try and turn that kill into a push. They move in onto the tier 2. Prada's going to pop the ult again. Limited damage to the towers with that recent nerf, but they are still pushing their way forward. The problem is, you're not getting help from this duo over here. PP and Genic are actually looking to use their teammates as bait effectively, and
Ooh.
Infamous, they are going to take the bait. They push their way in. There's going to be the Spear stun onto Prada. The Rolling Thunder comes in as well. Nice defensive disruption to keep the Death Prophet alive for now, but Prada is still going to be taken down, and, well, Infinity were trying to sort of bait, but I don't think they realized just how much was coming their way. They'll lose the 2 supports. Parker finds both of those kills, and then immediately just makes his way back over to the jungle to farm. So Parker's playing this so efficiently. He's 3-0-1. His Scotty is almost done, ET. We're, what, 18 minutes into this game? So he's going to be a problem.
I'm getting echoes back to, I want to say, the old jungle where you would want about a level per minute. You would look for that level 20 talent, and then you just win the game on Medusa. And that's kind of where we're at, to be honest. Of course, you don't have that 700 mana talent anymore. You're not nearly as cool as, old Medusa was. Old Medusa was so fun and interactive, right? But at the same time, ooh, just found a Grove Bow as well. I mean, everything's coming to Parker stupid.
Got the Grove Bow. Alone just found a double damage rune, so Infamous are just going to go looking for another fight, and they're going to run into... No, they're not. Mariano's able to slip away. Michael didn't quite get the vision on him, so that might have been for the best, because Mariano is probably one of the harder heroes on the map for them to kill. Of course, they're not really going to have any opportunity to go for anything else right now as they're moving bottom, but if you can't find kills, you could at least get some damage onto the tower. Parker's bringing a creep wave along behind him, so tier 2 would make for a nice prize for them just to put that little bit more map pressure on Infinity.
Yeah, and really neither team wants that big fight just yet here. I feel like we could see the trade of buildings going down. Neither side has glyph, so it really is who gets onto that tier 3 first. It's where Infinity still have great vision top. They still have this beautiful ward place behind the tower in a really nifty spot, but at the same time, Infamous are just kind of where they need to be a little bit sooner here. And, well, if they want to go for that top tower, it's going to be a little bit awkward to get your Medusa up there. Parker just got his TP in. Well, here we go. Who do they get? Mariano. Oh, it's a
They get
whiff,
the arena, but they don't get the spear stun. They're still looking for it, though, but now PP's going to throw the boat in there, and this is going to get a little bit broken once again, but Mariano was not able to make his escape. They've got the Spirit Vessel on him. Genic, though, trying to buy time. Defensive Disruption comes through, but it allows Oscar to set up for that spear stun. They find it. Now they get the Fiend's Grip onto the... Oh, hold up! They got the Fiend's Grip onto Prada, but PP was facing Parker as he tried to TP home, so the Stone Gaze locks him down. I mean, you can't change the direction you're facing once you start the channel, I suppose, but that's just unfortunate. Parker, I'm not even sure he knew he was there until they get that sort of further vision after the fact, and now they have 3 kills and a shot at the Roche Pit.
I'm just sitting here with my mouth agape. That is... That's so unlucky. And, well, Lumiere dodged out of the fight so soon. Lumiere was having none of that engagement, but, well, now get an Aegis on the Parker. I mean, what's he really need to be afraid of here? I don't agree with Parker going for the Butterfly next. I understand why it's kind of a killer versus the PL, as Lumiere looks like he's also about to finish his heart, but I feel like if he got the Silver Edge, that'd be really just lights out for the Timbersaw at that point, as Oscar has the Spear. And do they have the chain stun? Mariano, he's got to look for an exit here. Oh, this is messy.
Yeah, this is very messy. A is going to get just taken down entirely over to the west. They trade him out for Genic at least, and they're going to be able to clean up that Exorcism, so they get that off the map with Prada being taken down. They want even more. Mariano now stuck inside the arena. The Spear is going to get dodged, but can he get himself away? Nice Timber Chain, though, pulling himself out, but Michael's right on his ass. Alone is actually the one to finish the kill. He picks up the double, and Infamous will take that fight pretty cleanly. They trade out their Bane for multiple hero kills, and Bane for team fight wins is something that we've really been seeing all day long at this point.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate. It felt really hard, actually, for Infamous to take that fight for a second there because Lumiere was actually fighting for the first time in this game. He was getting there in between a lot of these heroes, but unfortunately, that's where Lumiere pieces out pretty quickly once he's under threat. But look at this. Do they really want this?
I don't think they do. I do want to point out, though, Parker received your message, ET. He is going to bail out of the butterfly play. He got the Shadow Blade. He's going to try and turn it into the Silver Edge instead. So, yeah, I mean, that feels like a more go for the jugular kind of play to get that Silver Edge as opposed to the butterfly right now. But need to be able to get themselves away from this cleanly, I suppose, as... God, all of the initiations in this game have been so awkward. Both sides just sort of wander into each other. As PP very nearly gets taken down. He's able to pop the BKB and fall back, but now Lumiere needs a little bit of assistance. He's going to be able to back away as well, but PP wants back in. They get the X, they get the boat, they're going to throw it out there. Oscar's dropped low. Oscar very nearly dead, and they will finish him off now. But once again, the fight's getting split. Lumiere is trying to track down a kill onto A, way over to the east here, and I think with the illusions, he might just be able to get it, but he really needs to rejoin with his teammates because Parker is starting to push his way forward, and with that Scotty, he is an issue. He'll take Prada down first. Now the Stone Gaze comes out. Lumiere trying to get himself away, but he's slowed up. Now he's going to get disarmed. Defensive disruption has to come in from Genic, but Mariano wasn't able to contribute to that fight because he actually got caught by that Stone Gaze, and this is just where it all goes bad for Infinity. They're going to lose Lumiere first. Prada's going to get hit up, taken down. PP will be falling here too. And, well, there we go. Prada lasted longer than I thought he would, but he will still die. It's 4 dead on the Infinity side, and they didn't... Well, okay, never mind. They technically will get through it now, but they didn't get through the Aegis during the fight itself.
Yeah, it's just a miserable team fight, one that they really had to slog through. You don't have vision actually for that Shadow Blade for a lot of that engagement. They're just able to walk out so consistently on Parker. They don't even really get too many team fight spells up. That was a fight without Arena, without the grip landing on any crucial target, just with the harassment, the Spirit Vessels flying, and Parker really kind of just A-clicking for the longest time there. But Parker's timing on that Stone Gaze was just perfect. He held it for so long. He didn't have it for, I want to say, 20 seconds coming into that fight, but the fight was just so painful, so long for everybody involved. And now Parker's got that Silver Edge, so he's sitting real pretty here. Still needs to be careful until he looks at an item like a BKB. There is that nightmare situation where you get disrupted, you get soul captured, you get stunned up, slowed up, hit by everything, but that's also where we need a little bit more control. I'm saying like double halberd coming in from Infinity Strength Cores, because without that, I think Parker's just doing a little bit too much for everybody here, as they are looking for Mariano, and they can kill him. If they find that Silver Edge break, he is just going to go down.
Oh, they put him under with the Nightmare, but the rest of the team's actually pushing after Lumiere. This would be a much larger kill if they can find it, but Genic's in there with the defensive disruption. That's going to eat a lot of the Stone Gaze duration as well. They even have the X to try and pull Parker back. They eventually do, but while that was happening, Alone actually kept directly onto Lumiere. He's just in some serious trouble here. The Silver Edge is going to hit him up. He's still getting slowed, still disarmed, tries to get away with the Doppel, but they're just completely on him. They know which one's real. They're going to chase him to the ends of the earth if that's what it takes. They find the kill. Now they're going to drop the Arena, trapping the 2 supports. Genic and Prada dead, and this fight is less of a fight and more of a shooting gallery for Infamous.
Yeah, and now, even though Mariano, you know, doing his job, getting the top wave in, they don't have a clear-cut way onto the Tier 3, but Tier 2 mid's pretty nice consolation prize. They get to play around all their vision still. I just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel right now. We need some long, nasty, super extended fight where Infinity get to pick off everybody, and then they find their way onto the Medusa, but it's simply not happening. It's where spells like Rolling Thunder are just brutal to play against, and, well, Mariano sticks around a second too long, and now, well, this should just be a kill. They're going to need the TP in, I feel like, from Parker, but maybe they just have it as 3 here. They've got so much time. Barely is going to get max stacks at the end of that kill, but with the reset, the Nightmare just pulls everything out of that Timber Saw, and a very sad death for Mariano.
Yeah, that's really kind of the tankiest hero that you've got on your side at the moment. Although, actually, technically that might not be true with Lumiere having the heart, but Mariano does not have that durability. He is not going to be able to just sort of get that free split push for you moving forward, and if you're Infinity, it just feels like you're running out of time. Lumiere, do not get caught. Get himself away. He will fall back successfully, because if Lumiere dies, then there is no stopping Infamous. They will just march their way down the middle lane. They'll get onto that high ground, and Infinity's defense will not really be sufficient to hold the line there, so try and keep that PL up. Prada as well, trying to keep himself safe. The spear, though, from the high ground, long-range shot. And Michael's able to clean up the kill. What's going on here? Parker, really? Okay. He just blinked into his opponent's base with the Stone Gaze. Genic puts him under with the Disruption. That doesn't actually stop the Stone Gaze, however, so Parker was still okay for a moment, but now he needs some way out of here. His teammates just can't. They can't get there in time. And Parker, listen, I understand confidence, but that's on a whole different level. That is overconfidence. Textbook case as he gets taken down. A gets dropped as well, and maybe they don't try that one a second time, ET.
Parker Stupid's dead, dude. Like, what just happened? He was so farmed up until this point, and then he buys a blink dagger, and then he decides that, oh, let's throw a little bit, you know? I would hate for that to be the beginning of the end here, but that's a lot of XP. You did split it, I think, 3 or 4 ways, but that is quite a lot of free time that now Lumiere is going to be able to catch up to your tail, and I think Lumiere is going to be able to close the gap here. No item that he buys right now is really going to be the game changer, but alone is also a little bit of a psycho right now. Does TP away though, so that's your freebie. Maybe Lumiere could take some notes there from his Pango, but
just become magic immune and TP away, man. What's the problem? But I don't know. That's so weird from the Dusa, but there's your one, right? You were overconfident, you pushed in too far, you get punished for it. You're still up by 13k, but do not do that again. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen. So Parker will be back up in about 13 seconds. We are 30 seconds out from a potential Roche spawn, so we'll see if that one's going to come up quickly as Michael going to get himself jumped in on here in the middle lane. It's a play Infinity had been relying pretty heavily on in the earlier stages in the game. They had gone quite a while without that pick, but they find it there. PP may be getting his groove back a little bit here with the Heaven's Halberd and the BKB, and try and lead directly into another smoke play here. Full 5-man, wrapping their... Oh, Lumiere. That's awkward. He pops a little bit early. Infamous have some idea of what's going down here. The Bane is still going to get thrown up in the air by the Yules, but that gets Oscar the time he wants to go in for the arena. He didn't hit the spear onto anything more than an illusion, but they are still turning this fight. They've taken down Prada already. Mariano's not in a great spot health-wise. They're going to hit him up with that Fiend's Grip from the high ground, and Parker just goes to work. Picks up the double kill. Actually, that's not a double kill. That's Genic and Genic's courier. It's Oscar who got the double, but regardless of the kill distribution, Infamous, almost called him by the wrong name, they'll take the team fight win. They will not take Roche, though. That is rough for them on the timer. 2.5 for Roche to respawn.
yeah, and it would really favor Infamous because this is their moment. This is where Lumiere still doesn't have any items, and he's actually still getting eyed up here.
Oh, boy. They don't have Fiend's Grip again, though, so this is not an easy kill. They're going to try for it, though, and Lumiere just has to try and TP away. Can they cancel it at all? No, they can't. Close call, but Lumiere is able to fall back.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, you know, a little unfortunate as well. I feel like they wanted to keep him in that nightmare maybe a little bit longer, but the Ag Shard from the spear kind of ruins that just a little bit, but that's where I think Infamous still have a chokehold on this game, and Parker has a BKB, so, well, that dream situation of getting a Medusa stuck on the high ground without any chance of getting unstunned is no longer there. You're really going to need to work everything out of Parker before you get that dream situation.
So, Infinity, they got their work cut out for them here, but we'll see what they can put together. Lumiere, went for the Aghanim Shard here on the PL, something that we see a lot of PLs kind of skipping over sometimes, but he's going to be able to do a little bit more damage, get some more illusions out there, and that might be enough to help him buy some time as Oscar's going to make his move. They get the jump onto Genic. No defensive disruption for the save, although he is going to buy back immediately, so they will still have it, but he needs to be able to rejoin his teammates quickly. Mariano is actually just getting bounced around here as alone. Does get the Rolling Thunder off, but doesn't have enough damage to finish the kill, so he tries to back away. He's going to get pulled back in, though, by the X, into the boat, into the torrent. They find the kill. This is getting very awkward. Infamous are still kind of hanging out around the pit. They would have loved to just sort of wait for Roshan, but the fight is coming their way alone. It's actually going to buy back, and they're going to go right back in. Genic taken down a second time, trying to get through the illusions as well on Lumiere. They are eventually going to be able to do so as Mariano. Clipped by the spear. They hit him with the swarm. They hit him with the vessel. The Yule Scepter is very well played by Mariano to try and get himself away, and it might be enough. Yeah, He's going to be able to make the retreat back to the base. Lumiere, meanwhile, went to the north and then TP'd home. So, good news if you're Infinity. Casualties were low. You do lose Genic twice, and his buyback is sort of a bit of a blow, but it's the only hero who goes down. The problem is, this has bought enough time. Roshan is back up. A is the scout. Infamous... They're not going to get a chance to go for it immediately, as Michael's got to do a little bit of dancing mid, and he cannot dance well enough there. PP finds the kill, and now Infamous are sort of thinking about whether they want to actually go back into the pit right now, or whether they want the fight instead.
They kill alone. That's the game blown wide open right there, but that's where Parker, unfortunately, just at 25. He's ready for this next fight, really more so than anyone else's, but they'd love to kill their opponents before going in, because there is that harassment. There is that situation where if Parker loses his man a little bit too early before that initial engagement breaks out, maybe has to pop his stone gaze a little bit too soon. We're still riding a pretty fine line here, even though Infamous are certainly well and far ahead. But you look at the gold lead, I mean, 10k of it is just the difference between the Medusa and the PL there. So I think once you start catching up here and once you start getting those tools, the kite ability is certainly there. Infinity haven't been able to pick up a secondary halberd on Mariano just yet, but it's where I think in PP's hero really alone, especially once he gets that Aghanim shard, it is very difficult to get in and out of these fights. This smoke would make it so clean though if they find that punish. Prada is not the punish they want though, but they'll certainly take him, but this is a reach. A reach where Alone is going to have to use his ulti for really not the biggest kill here, even though it is arcane.
Yeah, they will eventually get in onto it. Or, I say they, it's actually just Alone kind of doing it himself, and he does manage to find the kill, and really that's all that they technically needed. They would have loved more, but that opens the path for the Roche attempt, and they are right in there to take it quick.
Yeah, we are in this scary situation still, though, where do you have enough items to defend this next Roche? Can you afford to ignore everyone and then go back for the Medusa? It's really going to be that kind of genius situation where you'd hope everything works out for you. And the game is certainly annoying for Infamous. When it comes to pushing that high ground, Mariano is very close to getting that Aghanim Scepter as well. They're certainly going to run into a lot of damage just to approach these buildings. At the same time, though, Parker is almost too big to fail here. He's got the Ag Shard, just needs to slot it in. He's going to have that Agi Blink, and once he gets on top of your buildings, dislodging him, it's all up to the miracle play from Infinity.
And there we go. Just needed a moment to swap the items around, actually consume that shard, so now the Cold-Blooded's online, and you shall see where and when Infamous look to strike, because the ones who get to decide. Infinity really don't have a lot of agency right now. However, they do have a little bit of extra time while Infamous wait this one out a little bit. So, see the Timber Saw getting out there to finish the Ags, as you were talking about. Lumiere is... well, he's going for the sort of Sanj and Yasha play. At this point, that feels kind of late in the build for that to be a major difference maker, but yeah. They'll give him a little bit more damage, a little bit more durability, but as you said, they are still looking for that sort of second halberd. Lumiere is maybe not the best hero to pick it up, but since Mariano isn't really making too much progress on it, somebody let's pick it up anyway, but S and Y going to be the call.
Yeah, it's basic, it's simple, it's one of the few sources of status resistance left in the game. It's not your game changer, though. Lumiere is going to need 10,000 more net worth before we see him really become that monster that can deal with the other monster in the game. It's where you still really are questioning yourself here, especially if Parker's able to build up his next item. Really, I was going to say, we could look at Satanic, could look at MKB, could look at a whole slew of things, but the MKB is certainly going to be your easy choice. And playing ahead of Lumiere, there's never going to be that threat of the PL going for that butterfly now. And that's an item that really I feel like he would love to have, just being that much more obnoxious when he does send those illusions out onto the lane. But that's also Oscar with his refresher. It could blow the game wide open here. All it takes for a Spirit of Land, stun a hero up for 9 seconds, and then there's not really too many heroes that can survive that.
This is an interesting play onto Alone, and Parker is actually going to try to be a distraction just jumping forward. That's a very, very early Stone Gaze, though, and now that it's gone, well, maybe Infinity can make something happen here. There's going to be the X into the Torrent. Disruption comes in onto him as well, but Oscar makes his move. He's going to jump in, drops the arena, gets the Spear Stun down. Genic is going to be the first target, and they will bring him down. No buyback available on the Shadow Demon, and now Infamous They're going to try to push onto the tier 3 tower. Still X is coming out. They're going to get the torrent down onto the Weaver. They silence him up. Not able to kill him off in time, though. Even with the silence down, he should still get off that ult while his teammates push their way in. They got A directly in onto Lumiere with that Fiend's Grip. That's enough to take down the Phantom Lancer, who... Actually, he doesn't have buyback, and neither does PP, who goes down a moment later. So, ET, we may be done here. I don't really know if Infinity can do anything.
Yeah, I feel like after the second lane, maybe they could poke their heads into trying to just kind of claim the victory for themselves here. Of course, going into tier 4s versus Glyph is never something you really want to force yourself into. At the same time, I feel like either Organic or Prada, if they get caught by this arena, and they really are saving everything. Oscar could blink arena and just end the game here by finding these heroes, but by saving it, you still have that double arena play, which would certainly close out the game, and I feel like that's where they're just playing around facts on the Infamous side here. We should not see them back, though. We should see them, immediately onto the tier 4s. They, at the very least, would want to trade their Aegis for Glyph, but I feel like we could see Oscar just close this one out.
Prada stunned up, taken down. A gets the kill. Tier 4 towers still under attack. Parker trying to manage a little bit here. Would like to use that Aegis at the right moment, but at this point it doesn't feel like there's a wrong one. They're just barreling their way through, and that's going to force the Glyph. Lumiere's back up now. PP has already respawned, so they'll have one last go at this. And let's see what they can do. PP, that's a very weak spot to get stunned up as he gets hit by the spear inside of his own Ancient. Now Oscar's going to drop the arena. PP has to activate the BKB. That's enough to get him back to the fountain. And Infamous are going to call for the retreat for now. And if you're Infinity, don't chase too far here, because the Mars still got that refresher, could turn right back around for the arena play. So Infinity do well to not get pulled out of their base there, but that's kind of the only part of that they do. They've got Megas coming in onto them. They've lost both of their tier 4 towers. They have no Glyph, and they have a few more buybacks now, but maybe not on everybody that they're going to need.
We'll have to see how they do it. Mariano is insane.
Okay. Well, that's a little bit awkward. There's no buyback on the Timber Saw, and well, now they're going to come right back in and look to push. Ancient exposed, full HP at least, but that's not going to be the case for very long here once Parker gets involved. He'll push his way forward, start getting the damage. Gennic's going to hit him up with the disruption, though, trying to buy some time. Now they get the Fiend's Grip, though, onto some of these heroes. It was canceled fairly quickly, but that buys Oscar the time to get in. Going to drop the arena. Spear stuns there. Gennic goes down first. Prada in some trouble on the backline here as well, but really at this point I'm not sure if there is a backline. Everything is just getting hit, and they will concede. GG called, and Infamous, well, you said it at the start of this game, ET. They're one of those squads that sort of does this the best. They get completely wiped in their previous series, but they just shrug it off. They get a big win here to open up this best of 2.
Yeah, a huge win, and I think really kind of fixed a lot of their issues. Got a very basic, very simple draft, very easy opener to run, an opener that has been viable for a few metas at this point. And I think really to highlight, this is the most farmed we've seen a Medusa in this tournament. Parker really just out-tempoed, outpaced with his fantastic rotations, and of course set up a little bit by Michael there with just the stacks that he was able to farm. He blew everybody out of the water. There was just no play onto him. I mean, whenever you saw Infinity smoking up 13 minutes into the game, do they expect Parker to have a Manta? No, of course not. Do they expect themselves to need, 2 or 3 more levels stacked up on top of what they already have to make that kill happen? Of course they don't. They think it's a Medusa. They think it's a guy that's going to have a Yash and a Dragon Lance, and he's probably going to die pretty easy, or we get Stone Gaze and get to run away. I feel like Parker, this was the Parker show. I think his teammates were, still there, still doing their job, still making things happen, but at the end of the day, seeing a Medusa 1v9 like that, I mean, it's something you rarely see. And unfortunately for Lumiere, PL did not feel like the answer. And as we've seen with a lot of these so-called counters, especially in the carry meta, we've seen so many anti-mages lose versus Wraith Kings. We've seen so many PLs struggle until they get over the hump. The problem is that hump of net worth that Parker just had just kept on increasing and increasing and increasing. And really, I don't think there was ever a stage in this game where Lumiere was on even footing. Parker just beat him every single step of the way.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the GPM comparison between the two, 511 for Lumiere, 908 for Parker on that Dusa. It's too much. I mean, yeah, the theoretical on-paper counterplays to the Medusa don't translate as well when you let that Medusa get this much farm. So, uh, Infinity learning a bit of a lesson. They ban out the Storm, but they still let the Medusa through and ready to deal with that one. So, Infamous able to get the first win on the board here today. See now if they can even up that tally to 2-2 with a 2-0 sweep, or if Infinity are going to be able to make some adjustments and try and fight their way back into the series. So we'll be stepping away for a moment, but when we return, the final game of the series and the final game of the night. Game 2 between Infinity and Infamous coming your way in just a little bit.